Ever heard that phrase?
Like,
It's like joining the Freemasons when
yeah.
something feels all mysterious and secretive.
Right, right.
Well, today we're cracking that code a bit, diving deep into Masonic symbolism.
Unlocking the secrets.
Exactly. But not just the what, the why behind it all.
And not just any interpretation.
Yeah.
We're going straight to the source. Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma.
Okay.
So pretty important text.
Huge, some would say.
Yeah, considered a cornerstone of Masonic teaching.
Right. This isn't some like casual Freemason pamphlet. This is the text.
Yeah, exactly.
And Pike himself, fascinating figure, lawyer, writer, general, even a high-ranking Freemason back in the day.
Oh yeah, prominent figure.
But, and this is key, even he said, don't take my words as gospel.
Exactly. He wanted Masons to really engage with the symbols.
You don't just blindly follow.
Find their own meaning, make their own connections. He saw it more like,
Not dogma, which is ironic.
Right, exactly. Not as like crumbling ruins, but imagine a Roman palace. Ancient foundations, sure, but constantly being built upon, evolving.
I like that. Shows how tradition and evolution aren't mutually exclusive.
Right, exactly.
And speaking of ancient, Pike was really into those old mystery schools.
Oh, yeah.
How they used symbols to convey knowledge, not just plain language.
He saw a direct connection there.
Like a through line in history.
Because those complex truths, the kind you find in Masonic teachings, they need more than just words. They need rituals, they need allegories, they need symbols to really resonate on a deeper level.
So it's not just decoding secret handshakes and all that.
No.
It's about unlocking deeper layers of meaning.
Precisely. And within those symbols lie some seriously profound concepts.
Like their famous trio, liberty, equality, fraternity.
Right.
Most people, I think, connect that to the French Revolution.
Yeah, it's a common association.
But Pike throws a curveball.
He does.
He argues that Masonry was championing these ideals way before they were trendy.
Long before.
Back when they were downright dangerous to talk about.
Absolutely. It wasn't just a catchy slogan back then.
No kidding.
Think about it. While other institutions, they were focused on spiritual brotherhood.
Which is important, but...
Of course. But Pike's saying Masonry was promoting political equality.
Wow.
Radical for its time.
Huge. And it makes you realize history is rarely straightforward.
It's messy.
It's not just a straight line.
It's never that simple.
But even with these ideals, these noble goals, Pike doesn't shy away from how they can be, well, misinterpreted.
Absolutely. It's not all sunshine and roses.
Right.
Take individual sovereignty, for example, the core of liberty, right?
Right.
Pike argues that true freedom, while it empowers...
Gives you agency?
It needs wisdom. It needs responsibility to the common good. Otherwise, it can easily veer into anarchy.
So it's about finding that balance between our rights as individuals and our responsibilities to each other.
Finding that harmony.
Which actually, now that you mention it, connects to another big theme in Pike's work, education.
Right, a big one for him.
But he wasn't talking about just racking up facts and figures.
No, not just memorization.
Not just being a walking encyclopedia.
Not at all. He was wary of knowledge for knowledge's sake.
Really?
Oh, yeah. In one passage, he even warns against becoming more useful slaves.
More useful slaves? What did he mean by that?
He's saying we can become so focused on accumulating information that we lose sight of its purpose, its meaning, its ethical application.
Wow. More useful slaves. That's a gut punch, but so relevant today.
Isn't it?
In our world of endless information, it's so easy to fall into that trap.
It is.
Yeah.
And for Pike, true education, it should make us not just knowledgeable, but more ethical, more engaged citizens.
So it's about using knowledge to better ourselves and the world around us.
Exactly. And part of that engagement is recognizing the seductive, often corrupting influence of wealth and power, especially in a democracy.
Yeah, he doesn't sugarcoat that, does he?
Not at all.
He compares unchecked ambition to the worship of Moloch. Not exactly a sunny image.
No, not a fun time.
It makes you wonder, though, with all this deep thinking, did Pike ever get into the nitty-gritty of those Masonic symbols? You know, the actual nuts and bolts?
Oh, absolutely he does.
Because I'm dying to unpack his take on numbers and shapes.
Ah, yes. This is where things get particularly fascinating.
Okay, hit me.
For Pike, you see, numbers weren't just about math. They were keys to universal truths. Like the number 2, for example.
Okay, yeah.
He talks about duality, the interplay between opposing forces, light and darkness, good and evil.
So it's about balance again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he even ties this concept to the Masonic pillars. Jachin and Boaz.
Wait, hold on. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, for those of us who haven't been initiated, give us the SparkNets version on Jachin and Boaz.
Right, of course. In the simplest terms, they're symbolic pillars, often found in Masonic temples. They represent strength and establishment.
Okay, so they're kind of a big deal.
They are. But more on their deeper meaning a bit later.
All right. We don't want to spoil the entire book.
All right, got to save some for later.
But back to those numbers. So 2 is duality. What about 3?
Another heavy hitter in Masonic symbolism, the triad,
Okay.
often represented by the equilateral triangle,
Oh, triangles, classic.
showing up everywhere. From the 3 degrees of Masonry to ancient representations of the divine.
So these symbols, they weren't chosen randomly.
I don't know.
They're pointing towards larger concepts.
Exactly. Each one's a thread in a bigger tapestry.
Okay, what about 4 then?
4, for Pike, was grounded in the physical. He connects it to the 4 elements, the cardinal directions,
North, south, east, west.
representing stability, foundation.
Got it. And if you combine 2 and 3, you get 5.
Which brings us to
The 5-pointed star. Another super potent symbol.
very powerful.
It's like there's a whole secret code embedded within these numbers.
It's what makes Masonic symbolism so captivating. It's layered, invites you to find your own connections.
Like a puzzle.
In a way, yes. And Pike gives us glimpses into the meanings behind 7, 8, 10, even 12.
All significant, I bet.
Each one plays a role in Masonic teachings.
Okay, so we've touched on ancient wisdom, secret symbols, but what about the real world? It's not all secret societies and hidden knowledge, right?
Right. And this is where Pike gets surprisingly relevant. He had a lot to say about the challenges of democracy.
Okay.
And honestly, some of his observations are eerily applicable to what we see happening today.
So where do these challenges pop up? It feels like every day there's a new headline about the pitfalls of democracy. What did Pike see as the biggest threats?
Well, one of his most intriguing observations is about the age of reason. You think a guy like Pike, all about knowledge and education,
Right.
would be all in on logic, right? Reason above all else.
Makes sense to me.
But he saw a potential dark side.
Wait, so Pike believed even reason could be dangerous.
He did. He argued that reason, if it's divorced from things like faith, compassion, even intuition,
Okay.
it can actually be a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just be smart. You got to be good.
So it's not just about having a high IQ, it's about having a moral compass to guide all that intellect. Otherwise, the best intentions can go off the rails.
Exactly. And Pike felt that lack of ethical grounding, that's what allows even well-intentioned ideas to get twisted,
Yeah.
to serve selfish or even, tyrannical ends.
Which makes me think about another point he makes, the tyranny of the majority.
Oh, right.
Because it's easy to forget that even in a democracy, if the majority isn't careful, individual rights can get trampled.
It's a cautionary tale as old as democracy itself.
Yeah.
Pike reminds us that mob rule
Right.
can be just as oppressive as any dictator, especially when it's driven by, fear, prejudice, ideology.
It's that constant need for balance, isn't it?
All we're
Protecting individual liberties while still working towards the collective good.
trying to find that sweet spot.
It's like walking a tightrope.
It is, and it takes constant vigilance,
Right.
especially from those in positions of power.
Hmm.
Pike was particularly wary of political opportunism. Leaders who, put ambition above the needs of the people they're supposed to be serving.
He really doesn't mince words, does he?
He doesn't. He's calling out those who seek office for personal gain,
Right.
clinging to power instead of actually serving the public good.
It's a good reminder to be critical of those we allow to lead us,
Absolutely.
to hold them accountable.
And to remember what true leadership really requires.
Okay, which is...
Integrity.
Yeah.
A willingness to put the needs of others first.
Okay.
Having the courage to stand up for what's right, even when it's unpopular.
So with all that in mind, what can we as everyday people actually do? How do we guard against these pitfalls of democracy, ensure our voices are heard, our ideas make an impact, and our leaders actually, represent us? It feels kind of overwhelming sometimes, to be honest.
It's a big question. Pike, he believed deeply in the power of the written word.
The written word.
He saw it as a weapon against tyranny, a way to challenge injustice, a way to shape public opinion.
He even compares it to figures like Tacitus and Juvenal, those Roman writers
Oh, yeah.
who used their words to critique corrupt rulers, expose hypocrisy, often when speaking openly could get them killed.
Exactly. They understood that even under oppressive regimes, Ideas, if you express them powerfully, have this incredible ability to spread,
Right.
to inspire change.
And to outlive their creators.
Exactly. And Pike felt that same principle. It applied to democracies as well.
Okay, so how did he see it playing out in a more, democratic context?
He saw writing as essential for dialogue,
Mhm.
for holding those in power accountable, for advocating for a just and equitable society.
And in our world of instant communication,
Yeah.
where everyone has a platform and a megaphone,
Right, social media, the internet.
exactly, that message feels more relevant than ever, but
Yeah.
it also raises the stakes, doesn't it?
It does. It's not enough to just have a voice anymore. You have to know how to use it
Right.
effectively.
You got to cut through the noise somehow.
Absolutely. It's about being informed, being engaged, being willing to participate in those crucial conversations of our time. And maybe most importantly, having the courage to speak truth to power, call out injustice when you see it, and never stop fighting for what you believe in.
This idea of speaking truth to power, it actually leads us to another fascinating observation from Pike, his take on the written word. Pike, he was a huge believer in the power of the written word.
He saw it as a way to challenge tyranny, I think you said.
He did. He also saw it as a way to fight injustice and even shape public opinion.
And he wasn't talking about, just grand political treatises or anything. Right?
No, not at all.
He saw writing as a way to engage in meaningful dialogue, a way to hold those in power accountable.
To keep them honest.
Exactly. And to advocate for a more just and equitable society.
Which is interesting, right? Because in today's world, everyone has a platform.
That's true.
Like, it's never been easier to share your thoughts and ideas with the world.
True. But it also kind of makes you wonder, in a world that's so saturated with information, how do you make sure that your words have a lasting impact?
How do you cut through all the noise?
Right. How do you make your voice heard above the cacophony?
That is the million-dollar question because, it's not enough to just have a voice anymore. You have to know how to use it.
It's about being informed. It's about being engaged. It's about being willing to participate in those crucial conversations of our time.
And having the courage to actually say something.
Exactly. And maybe even more importantly, having the courage to speak truth to power,
To call out injustice when you see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To never stop fighting for what you believe in, even when it's difficult.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by it all,
I get it.
But I think Pike's work is a good reminder that even small actions,
They can have a ripple effect.
they really can, and they can create meaningful change.
One of the most compelling things about Pike's writing, at least for me, is how much he stresses the responsibility we all have.
Not just to better ourselves, but to actually make the world a better place.
Exactly. He saw Freemasonry as playing a role in that.
Right.
But it wasn't about blind allegiance to an organization or anything.
It's about the bigger picture.
It was about cultivating those core values, liberty, equality, fraternity, and then putting them to practice out in the real world.
It's like he's saying, don't just talk the talk, walk the walk.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because knowledge, symbolism, all of that, it's important,
It's powerful.
but it's meaningless without action.
Without application.
And that's a message that resonates. It goes way beyond the walls of any lodge. It's a call to action for all of us.
It really is.
Regardless of your background, your beliefs, whatever.
Mhm.
Live your life with purpose. Challenge injustice wherever you find it, and never stop striving to make the world a better place.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And who knows, maybe by engaging with these ideas,
Right. By really wrestling with them.
by asking those tough questions about individual freedom,
Hmm.
social responsibility, the pursuit of knowledge,
Maybe, just maybe.
we can each play our part in building a world that reflects those Masonic ideals: liberty, equality, fraternity. It's a journey worth taking, even if we stumble along the way.
Well said. Well said. And on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive.
I think you're right. But before we go, let me leave you with this. What will you do today to make the world a slightly better place?
That is a powerful question to ponder. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time when we unpack more fascinating ideas and hidden wisdom.